This is the clerk. The meeting is now live on the internet.
Good morning, Mr. Lopresti. Would you like to do a mic check?
Good morning. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Thompson. Would you like to do a mic check?
Hi, Peggy. I can't hear them. Let's see.
No one's talking,
Oh, great.
but we can hear you loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good morning, George. Would you like to do a quick mic check?
I would. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes,
We
we hear
can. Good
you.
morning, Annie.
And now I can hear you, so we're good. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Supervisor Wasserman. This is Peggy Doyle, and I will be your clerk today.
Wonderful. Glad to have you, Peggy.
Happy to be here.
I don't see Supervisor Simidian quite yet.
He is not in the room.
All right. It's funny the terminology we use now compared to a year ago. Zooming, not in the room, raise your hand. You guys have learned a whole new skill set.
We have. You either embrace technology or life becomes very difficult.
Or you get deleted. Yeah.
Exactly.
My screen is filled. So Peggy, when you see Supervisor Simidian, please let me know.
I will do. I'm keeping an eye out for him. And he is joining now.
Wonderful. With my vice chair here, let's start the March 25th meeting of the Housing, Land Use, Environment, and Transportation Committee. Peggy, roll call, please.
Vice Chairperson Simidian,
Here.
Chairperson Wasserman.
Here as well. Thank you very much. This meeting's called to order. We now look for public comment. Peggy, I see one. Do you see any more?
One moment. There are currently 2 hands. We have 2 speakers.
All right. Let's give them each 3 minutes.
One moment. Our first speaker is Scott Largent. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 3 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Good morning, everyone. Scott Largent. When I first became, in a way, homeless, when I started off and on living in a motorhome, and after my business had basically gone out from underneath me, I was living in Los Gatos. So I was living in your district, Mike.
Yep.
And what I dealt with was, I understand the RV thing and the car thing. Los Gatos didn't want anything to do with me. And that's how I then got kicked into Campbell. And then, of course, Campbell didn't want anything to do with me. And then I became San Jose's problem. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is, and this is kind of in a direction towards your district, Joe, and I try to keep track of the RVs and what's going on near Stanford University. And what I've noticed is they're a lot more compassionate in Palo Alto. Now, I know that's changed now. I know there was lots of sweeps, lots of notices. Well, a good group of people now, Joe, has ended up over here on Spring Street. So if you have the opportunity when you're leaving the county building, maybe to go down Heading, turn left, down Spring Street, and then take your first right, that whole section of motorhomes and RVs, they were swept from Palo Alto near Stanford University. All these people there, well, most of them that I met so far, they're actually a really good group of people. They have jobs, they have children, they're trying to survive, and especially during a pandemic. But they have now become San Jose's problem in a way. But these are your constituents, they're from your district, and in my eyes, they're people that you should be taking care of. And just figuring out a place for them to go with the RVs. A lot of these are older motorhomes that you can't get into regular RV parks, safe parking programs. But they're not, I'm not going to use the word I normally call the RVs, but they're not the worst motorhomes, but they're not the newest. So I believe that becomes an issue. But if we gave people an area to go, safely distanced, for instance, like the fairgrounds, they could keep their areas clean. We don't need to throw out all these bells and whistles. I mean, we could, put some, tan bark on the ground and give them a little area to survive for the next 6 months to a year until they get into normal housing or they figure kind of their way out of how difficult this pandemic has been. Remember, folks, they cut off light rail, water, all services to the homeless. It's been very difficult, and let's try to get these people back out of their situation right now, and especially the newly homeless. I'm very scared for them right now. They don't have survival skills, and if they end up out here, I mean, this really is Lord of the Flies out here, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I do live out here right now in my motorhome. So thank you.
The next speaker is Rhoda Fry. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 3 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Good morning, Supervisor Simidian. My plea to you today is that we make sure that Lehigh reclaims quarry, restores Permanente Creek, and remediates the cement plant industrial complex that also manufactured incendiary bombs in World War II. Also, the county must prohibit aggregate sales until further investigation and validate past construction work. I don't think Lehigh has enough assurance money for reclamation, and I'm worried that the taxpayers will be left with a big mess. Please implore planning to review the site and increase the financial assurance cost estimate immediately. Bloomberg announced that all Lehigh's California sites are for sale by its parent company, Heidelberg Cement of Germany. That's why it's even more important. Lehigh is a bad actor. Take a look at Superior Court and bankruptcy records, and you'll learn that Lehigh has a habit of not paying its bills. Heidelberg has disdain for our community, with its CEO calling us Silicon Valley freaks, and their annual reports thank California for being friendly to polluters. Also, in 3 years, Cupertino had 50 times more in proposed labor safety fines than a plant in Lucerne Valley, which had more employees. That's 1.4 million as compared with under 30K. If Lehigh can't take care of their employees, there's no hope for us. And there's zero assurance money for the cement plant because it falls outside of the reclamation plan area. Furthermore, Lehigh intends to sell aggregate using a new portable rock plant. Lehigh abandoned its use of its stationary rock plant in 2011. I believe they lost any vested rights that they might have had to operate. And a portable plant is very different from a stationary plant. Planning must look into this. Additionally, county staff has mentioned that there isn't enough fill on site to fill the quarry as required. We must not allow any material that could be used as fill to leave the premises. Otherwise, we will have 4 times as much truck traffic. Please do a survey and evaluate a conditional use permit for the new rock plant, if at all. Finally, Lehigh has complained in court of poor workmanship among its subcontractors. The county must do a complete survey to ensure that we are not left with remediation costs. Supervisor Simidian, you have questioned your predecessor's vested rights decision at Lehigh. The situation now pales in comparison. I can only hope that we're not questioning you about taxpayers having to fund tens of millions of dollars of toxic cleanup. Please increase face and assurance now. Ensure funds for remediation at its industrial complex and at Permanente Creek. Block the new rock plant and validate past work. Please do read my comments. I realize I had a lot to say this morning. And of course, if I had more time, I'd had even more to say. Thank you ever so much.
And that concludes our public speakers.
Thank you, Peggy. We now move on, Supervisor, to consent calendar, which we currently have as items 8, 9, and 10. Anybody wishing to speak to these items, please raise your hand. Supervisor, do you want to add, delete, comment?
I made to move approval of the consent calendar as contained in our published agenda.
Thank you. And that's items 8, 9, and 10. I will second that motion. But before we have our roll call, Peggy, I don't see anybody wishing to speak on this item.
We have no speakers.
Thank you. Then we'll, roll call vote, please.
Vice Chairperson Simidian,
Aye.
Chairperson Wasserman.
Aye.
To the chair, we do have one late raised hand from Robert Aguirre. I'm unclear if it is for this item, for an item on consent.
Okay. Let's move, Robert. Let's go ahead and hear what Robert wants to say. He'll have 2 minutes.
Our next speaker is Robert Aguirre. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute, and you will have 2 minutes to speak. One moment while the timer comes up.
And Robert, please tell us what item you're speaking on about.
Okay, I thought I would be speaking on public comment.
That's fine. You may do so, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, all right. So I want to talk about the situation that we're facing coming up with the end of the moratorium on rents, and the number of people that will not be able to afford to stay in their place and will not be able to pay the back rent. And those people are destined to become unhoused. We also have an end to the people that are being paid or their hotel, motel rooms are being paid. They were taken off the streets because of COVID. And when that thing ends, we're gonna have all those people also moving out to the streets. And then we have the shelters that will be closing, and people will then again be moving out in the streets. We're gonna see an increasing swell of number of people. And some of these people have other needs besides just housing. There's people that need special care. There's people that have medical issues. There are people that have mental health issues. There's all kinds of other things that they were able to get while they were in hotels, motels, or in a shelter or someplace like in their own homes, and they had family that they could count on. But once they move out in the streets, then they will no longer have access to a lot of these services, and they will start filling our streets with more and more people. And the city of San Jose has announced that they're going to resume sweeps. And I know that the county doesn't do sweeps, so I'm not blaming you for that, but I'm just saying that those people are gonna start wandering around from place to place. And the sooner they start doing it, the less likely that those people are gonna get vaccinated. And when you have people that are out there and they're commingling with other people, especially when they get swept, there are people that are housed that are coming into their encampment and they could contaminate them or their belongings. And then when they end up moving to another location, they can take that with them, and then this could turn into a bigger problem than we're actually capable of handling. And we also don't have enough mental health beds. We don't have enough recovery beds for people that are coming off of substance abuse or whatever kind of addiction they may have. We don't have the respite beds for people that are coming out of hospitals and need a place to go. I had a friend of mine that passed away in his truck because they would not operate on his congestive heart problem because he had no place to recover. And as a result, he ended up dying in his truck. And the number of people that have died in the streets in the last year, approaching 200, is the highest numbers that we've seen in a long time. And that was before COVID. And we don't have an accounting of the number of people that have been vaccinated, or the people that have been hospitalized, or the people that have recovered, or the people that have died that were living in the streets. And that is all information that somebody is hanging on to. And I think the public has a right to know what's going on. So please keep us informed. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Peggy, we had the vote pass unanimously on 8, 9, and 10. We now move on to items 4, 5, 6, and 7. Anybody wishing to speak on any of those items, please raise your hand. This will be for item number 4, which is to receive a report from our Management Audit Division. And let me just scroll over to that, which I assume is Cheryl. Yes, it is, our Management Audit Manager. Whoops, I'm off one. There's Cheryl.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Cheryl Solog. This is a monthly report that we prepare, and consistent with all of the previous months that we've been presenting, all of the recommendations that the fire district could have implemented from our audit of the district have been implemented, and they've made progress on the item. There's one item that had been sort of disrupted by the pandemic, but they've made progress on that to the extent that it's feasible to make progress on that. And that's the record keeping. And then we also noted for this report that they had provided a public presentation at one of their previous commission meetings that we thought it was not part of our audit recommendations, but we felt that it was consistent with our recommendations and in furtherance of compliance with the audit recommendations. And that was just to sort of outline the district's role relative to overlapping entities. We have no concerns about their compliance with the recommendations that the board has adopted. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. That's great. All recommendations adopted. Thank you very much. Supervisor Smitty, any comments? This is a receive report only.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just pleased to see it. Thanks to all who made it go well. I just want to underscore what the auditor already said. I'm looking at packet page 4, where the memo we have from Ms. Soloff indicates all recommendations that could have been implemented to date have been implemented. I am looking at the letter from Ms. Soloff dated February 28th that has similar language that says, in conclusion, we believe the fire district has implemented or is on track to implement the audit recommendations as adopted by the Board of Supervisors. As noted, this is, I think, the 5th month in a row that we've had similar reports. So again, thank you to the folks at the Los Altos Hills County Fire District. Thanks to folks in the County Council's office with whom they are working closely. I guess if I could just take a minute or two to ask a couple of questions, Mr. Chairman, of fire district officials who are here. I would just ask, I know we talked previously about a couple of hydrant projects that were in the works, and I know that County Fire District commissioners and staff are working closely with County Council, but we could ask Ms. Logan to give us sort of an update on all that. That would be appreciated.
Right ahead.
Okay.
Thank you very much. This is Jay Logan, General Manager, Los Altos Hills County Fire District. And thank you, Supervisor Submidian, for those questions. Just as a quick overview, the Board of Commissioners is coordinating with Central Fire to develop policies and guidelines for the district hydrant and hydrant infrastructure that relates to the relocation, replacement, and addition of hydrants and the hydrant infrastructure. The goal of this process is to develop a studied approach for the board's management of the district's water system of 540 hydrants for protection of property, life safety, and support of the fire suppression system. And development of goals is also a strategic part of the goals and plans for the board. A district consulting engineer is convening a task force to address the development of policies and guidelines, and a work group is now developing standard operating procedures. So that's what we're doing with the 540 hydrants in line with recommendation 1.1 from management audit. Thank you.
Thank you. And through the chair, if I may, I just want to confirm with Ms. Logan what I understand to be the case, which is that all of that work is being done in consultation with county council so that everybody is clear not only about the worthiness of the project, but about the appropriateness of the process being used to get the work done. Yes?
That is correct. And also for complete transparency to the public, it's all agendized and discussed in public meetings with the Board of Commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, the one other question I wanted to ask was about records maintenance. I understand there are some efforts underway. That may be what Ms. Soloff was alluding to, that we're somewhat limited on given the state of the pandemic. But if we could ask Ms. Logan to accommodate one more question, that would be appreciated.
Right ahead.
Yeah, yes, thank you. A consultant has been hired to come in and to work with district staff on the maintaining of the district records, and that is occurring along with the clerk of the board for the county. Right now, we have boxes of legal records from the prior legal counsel that are housed in the Office of County Counsel. District staff reviewed those files, confirmed the table of contents in each of the boxes, and is making an arrangements through County Counsel's office for digitizing and storing of those records. So it was the first time that under COVID that we met to actually physically go through the records. And that's what the holdup was not being able to get to the hard copy records because of COVID restrictions. So thank you for that question.
And just as a quick follow-up through the chair, do I understand that ultimately the plan is to digitize and make these records available to the greatest degree possible and appropriate on a public portal, which is what I think I have been told? I just want to confirm that.
Yes, and that is a part of the February report to the committees. Yes, we will be establishing a public portal, and most of those records, most of our records are public anyway, would be available. It's just the search engine to find them. So
got it. No, I think that's may seem a little abstract, but I think it's a helpful thing to be able to point to in terms of the transparency of the organization. And Mr. Chairman, I have one last question for Mr. Cheladin from County Counsel's office, if I may.
Yes, Christopher.
Mr. Cheladin, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit and say, so it's been 5-6 months now since we have transitioned with the terms of legal counsel, county counsel now providing counsel. Can you assure Supervisor Wasserman and me that everything is being done according to Hoyle, that T's are being crossed and I's are being dotted, and that you have no concerns about the processes by which the work is getting done?
That is correct, Supervisor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll take yes for an answer, Mr. Wasserman. Thank you for that.
There you go, Supervisor. Mr. Tyson, anything you wanted to add?
Well, let me just take this opportunity to thank the Board of Supervisors for nominating and approving 3 new commissioners. They're very capable people with great skills. And so I think we've, even more than ever, we have a powerhouse commission to go along with our powerhouse general manager.
Wonderful. I heard they work at a reasonable rate too.
That's
good.
Sure.
Good. All right. Thank you. Supervisor Submidian, with that, we'll consider the report received.
Without objection.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on to item number 5, which is receive a report from the Office of Sustainability related to county sustainability achievements and progress on sustainability master plan goals. It's always good when you can get sustainability in one sentence 3 times. Jasneet, you're starting us off?
Yes, thank you, Supervisor Wasserman. I was not trying to aim for having as many words of sustainability in the sentence, but
Oh, and this is our director of the Office of Sustainability. I understand.
thank you again. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jasneet Sharma, the Director for the Office of Sustainability, and very pleased to be here along with my colleague Tanya Veach. We'll be presenting and sharing some highlights from the 2020 Annual Sustainability Report that's attached. And we'd also like to take this opportunity to unveil the now publicly accessible Sustainability Master Plan website and data dashboard that allows community and county leaders to easily view and track our annual sustainability progress. Next slide, Tanya. Thank you. So just as a quick refresher, the board adopted the Sustainability Master Plan in January of this year, and the SMP presents both a vision and a roadmap to integrate sustainability as a core function within our county operations, coordinate and support cross-departmental sustainability efforts, and empower collective action and transformation to build a livable, equitable, and resilient county. So this vision is achieved through promoting solutions across 4 priority areas that you see on this slide, and combined they include 8 goals, 30 strategies, and 90 targets to monitor the implementation of the sustainability vision. The 2020 annual report for the first time uses this structure from the Sustainability Master Plan to report and highlight key achievements. So in the interest of time today, I'll only highlight some key achievements across the 4 priority areas. The details, of course, are in the attached annual report. Next slide. The climate protection and defense priority assists the county to meet its commitment to become carbon neutral by 2045 and also become resilient in the face of future hazards. Despite an increase in the county's real estate portfolio, sourcing 100% of power facilities from our renewable sources and energy efficient lighting retrofits at about 1.8 million square feet of county facilities led to a significant reduction in our greenhouse gas emissions, as you can see from the inventory that's attached here. Significant progress also in installing EV charging stations to support electric or hybrid county fleet at county facilities, and an increase in our telecommuting from 3% to 33% since shelter-in-place orders will further help reduce our emissions in the coming years. This year also saw the continuation and expansion of the county's efforts to reduce the cumulative impacts of environmental hazards through numerous efforts, including applying pesticide-free practices to manage county parks. We've reduced water use by connecting now a total of 7 county facilities to recycled water for irrigation. We've increased awareness of the importance of riparian areas and protect them by expanding watershed education curriculum and pollution prevention outreach to school-aged children, and establishing a new volunteer group to improve riparian habitat. Our city forest also led planting of nearly 400 trees as part of the tree planting and stewardship program that was established last year. Despite the pandemic, the county continued to work towards a healthier community by ensuring residents had access to healthcare through telehealth visits and social safety net through provision of housing, meals, and financial assistance. Over 500 county residents completed energy efficiency upgrades to create a more comfortable, healthy, and safe home. After the shelter-in-place orders, the county library district made access to learning a priority by allowing residents to open new accounts online, which resulted in an 80% increase in the number of e-materials downloaded and a 179% increase in portal visits. And I can personally say, like, it was a lifesaver because I have school-age kids as well, and we opened an account ourselves in summer last year.
Well, Supervisor Samiti and I serve on that library, so we will take your compliment. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. The county continued efforts to support local businesses during the pandemic. The Green Business Certification Program pivoted to support local businesses with implementing measures not just to reduce environmental impact, but also build resilience by also offering training and education for local contractors to lead on commercial and residential electrification projects. Departments have continued to participate in the Government Alliance for Race and Equity and the first internal Race, Equity, and Leadership Academy to apply a racial equity lens in both practice and policy. And collaboration and collective action going forward will be supported through the grant funding that we've received to develop a resiliency strategy to flooding and sea level rise and launching a county collaborative. I'll now hand off to Tanya. She'll just walk you through a couple of slides for the SMP website. We would have loved to do a live demo, but you never know how fickle internet might be. So we've decided to go with some slides. Tanya?
Thanks, Jasneet. As Jasneet mentioned, my name is Tanya Beach with the Office of Sustainability, and I look forward to walking you through the now publicly accessible website and dashboard. The homepage was designed to pique the interest of visitors, provide an interactive experience, and prompt them to delve deeper into components of the Sustainability Master Plan, including the Sustainability Vision, the 4 priority areas and goals, and the data dashboard. Visitors will quickly be able to move into the 4 priority areas and the 8 different goals that the county will be undertaking to achieve the vision for sustainability. Let's explore the climate protection and priority area further. As you can see here, this page allows visitors to get an in-depth look at the specific goals, strategies, and targets of the climate protection and defense priority area. Data dashboards are embedded within each strategy to showcase the progress on how the county is meeting its defined targets. But what if you wanted to see all of the dashboards? The data dashboard page is a one-stop shop to view all the available dashboards across the 4 priority areas. Using Power BI, the dashboards are interactive and have easy to use and understand visuals of baseline and progress data for targets identified in the Sustainability Master Plan. The Sustainability Master Plan has 90 targets with the intent of having a dashboard for each. To date, 30 dashboards are available. Throughout 2021, the Office of Sustainability will work with departments to identify the key performance indicators for the remaining targets to establish additional dashboards. I hope that this quick overview encourages you to explore the Sustainability Master Plan website further. We welcome any feedback that you may have to continue to enhance the accessibility of the website. I now am going to hand it back over to Jasneet to close out by highlighting the upcoming activities for the next fiscal year.
Thanks, Tanya. As we've shared, there are several upcoming efforts that are already underway in 2021. We've mentioned ongoing efforts to update the county's green building policy to include electrification and resiliency, adopting building electrification reach codes for private development in unincorporated areas, and also a sustainable purchasing policy. We'll also be bringing recommendations to meet Cut the Commute pledge goals adopted by the board last year in September to maintain telecommuting by at least 25% among employees whose work requirements allow for that flexibility. In addition, in-depth assessments of critical county facilities for resilience and microgrid options will be initiated, and county facilities will be evaluated to develop a plan for electrifying our facilities. Last year, we experienced unprecedented environmental, health, and social challenges from extreme heat, wildfire, and smoke over and above the ongoing pandemic. Unfortunately, we know that climate hazards are projected to only get worse and worse with each passing year. So as we work to update the climate hazard and risk maps for the county, I wanted to close out by giving you a quick preview of the type of analysis that we currently have underway through our office and what some of the early modeling is showing. The map on this page shows the projected number of days with maximum temperatures above 100 degrees over the next decade in Santa Clara County. You can see that it ranges anywhere from 20 number of days in the north part of the county to 60 to 80 number of days in range in San Jose, and close to 100 days in the southern part of the county. The change in climate is no longer an issue for the future, and it's all the more critical for us to take lessons learned from COVID response and apply it to increase our preparedness and resilience to protect people, habitat, and county assets. Again, thank you so much for your time today, and I'm happy to respond to any questions as well.
Thank you, Jasneet. Thank you, Tanya. Peggy, it looks like we have a speaker on this item.
Yes, we have one speaker.
Wonderful. If you let that speaker speak for 2 minutes, please.
Our next speaker is Rhoda Fry. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Hi, thanks for the wonderful presentation. I have a couple of suggestions. One is to add a search function to the website so it's easy to find various aspects of the program. And the other one is I'd like to see the county move toward not allowing the use of gas-powered leaf blowers. And one way to start that would be to not use any gas-powered leaf blowers on its own facilities. And I don't know whether you guys use, I looked around, I could not find whether gas-powered leaf blowers are used on Santa Clara County properties right now, but even if they're not, if there was a statement to that effect, I think that would be set a wonderful example to other businesses. And also to that end, to include recommendation to not use gas-powered leaf blowers in the green business plan. And I thank you so much for your efforts.
Thank you,
I'm
Rhoda.
done.
Thank you, Rhoda. I don't see any other speakers, Peggy, so I'll turn to Supervisor Simidian with any comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first, notwithstanding the question or comment rather about search function on the online, in terms of our online presence, I did want to say I thought that the SEC Sustainability Plan .org site is really quite user-friendly and a really great resource. So I know from my own office how much work goes into making that happen. And so whoever it was that spent long hours making sure that that happened, thank you to you, and thank you to the whole group, because I think a significant part of the sustainability effort is engaging the larger public in the work and supporting the effort here at the county. So not a terribly substantive piece of the commentary, but I did want to just say duly noted and appreciated. The other thing I just wanted to ask for, and don't require any conversation about it today, Mr. Chairman, but just want to sort of lay down a marker, which is one thing that I think might be helpful to add to the master plan is some consideration of or reference to activities at Stanford University. Stanford is the one really exception to our rule of encouraging development in, encouraging development in the incorporated communities, and the sustainability implications of that scale of development in the unincorporated area is just something I'd like to make sure we take note of. On the one hand, just so Mr. Wasserman knows it's me, on the one hand, they really have done some extraordinary work there, as I suspect our office knows. On the other hand, they are sometimes not in our sites when they appropriately should be in terms of practices that might be consistent with our sustainability efforts. So just ask that you give a little thought to how we can fold what's happening in that part of our county, since it is so significant in terms of intensity of use compared or contrasted with other parts of the unincorporated area. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Jasneet and Tanya, thank you. I took several pictures of the slides that appeared on my screen, which I'm going to send to my son and his fiance, who's going to be his wife in 3 months from today. And she's very much into green and energy saving and reduction of emissions and everything else. Your numbers are absolutely astounding and encouraging and awesome. And too bad you're not running China, but that's a whole nother matter. What I do want to say is regarding the county's alert SCC system, I want to make sure that it continues to be as user-friendly and preemptive and everything as possible as more and more fires seem to occur, as you both raised. And also the PG&E giving us advance notices of their alert of their system, public PSPS. We have too many acronyms in our lives, of their public safety power shutoff. The more advance notice our public can get, the more dependable and reliable our alert SCC system is, the better. So to the extent that you two are involved with the continuation and the enhancement of that program, please stay on it. I want it to be as reliable and helpful as possible. And with that, we will consider your receipt. We will consider your report well received. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, supervisors.
Supervisor Simidian, we're going to move on to item number 6. Under advisement from December 15, 2020 and January 26, 2021, Board of Supes meeting, received report from the Office of Supportive Housing relating to the expiration of eviction moratorium and options regarding tenant protection. Consuelo, you are there. Hello there. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairperson Wasserman. Consuelo Hernandez, Director with the Office of Supportive Housing. Good morning. I do have a few updates and a couple of just statements I wanted to share with the committee this morning that were not captured in the report.
Thank you.
So first, I wanted to thank Brown Lawhorn from the Office of Mediation and Ombud Services. He is in the virtual audience here with us today. He's been our partner and working with a lot of the organizations that provide this service and helped us in crafting our report. Moving forward, our collective offices will be reporting to the board on this effort. Particularly when we go back in April with recommendations following this hearing today. Also joining me is Diana Castillo, who's our housing policy analyst for the Office of Supportive Housing. She's been working really closely with a lot of our nonprofit partners, trying to understand the SB 91 bill and how that messaging is being shared with tenants and landlords alike. In addition to that, I wanted to thank all the nonprofit partners who've been working with us, helping our office understand where the gaps in the system are, and really trying to understand the workflow, how the eviction process works in California and our area, opportunities for long-term systemic changes. That included our courts partners, and just wanted to share that up front with you. The other thing, unfortunately, in our report, there was an error in the way that we reported the action that the board took on January 26th. In fact, the board considered an ordinance to extend the tenant protections to residential tenants, only if the state did not adopt a similar legislation, which they did shortly after that. So we wanted to make that change. And we tried to really simplify this report for both Hewlett and the upcoming report to the board to focus on what we feel are the 3 primary areas of action. Rental assistance to help folks that have not been able to pay their rent. On Tuesday, the Board of Supervisors on a consent item 67 approved our recommendation for implementation of the emergency rental assistance. We are also working with the state of California. Collectively, our community will be getting a substantial amount of resources. It will not be enough to help everybody, but coordinating with the state to make sure that folks have access to that money. We are working on messaging, and you will start to see some information come out later this week or early next week. In a partnership with the City of San Jose, Destination Home, and Sacred Heart, we are hosting a number of webinars to help both landlords and tenants understand how the program works, both at the state level and the local level. The second piece of our report includes gaps because of the volume that we anticipate, we will be bringing to the board a recommendation to add additional financial investment to legal services. We are still negotiating with the Law Foundation and with Project Sentinel But at the moment, it looks like collectively through that collaborative effort, the request is to add 3 additional attorneys to help with small claims courts. And the way that the Senate bill works is any debt that is unpaid from a residential tenant is considered or will be considered through a small claims court. And then the second is just to help folks navigate the court system and the process for an unlawful detainer. And then finally is our education and outreach campaign, and really working with all of the cities across the county to help tenants understand what their rights are and help landlords and educate landlords so that they know what the bill contains, and make sure that we give them the resources like mediation through Almost, through Project Sentinel, through other partners on how best to resolve any issues or challenges that they might have with tenants. And with that, I'll pause and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Consuelo. I appreciate that. Supervisor Smitty, if you don't object, we have 3 members of the public wishing to speak on this item.
All good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Peggy, can you do your thing?
Our next speaker is Andrew. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking. 1 moment while the timer comes up.
Hi, how you doing? So I got my little one in the background. My name is Andrew Bigelow. I'm a community organizer at Silicon Valley Debug, and I'm also a tenant here in Santa Clara County. I would like to express support for the Office of Supportive Housing's plan for rent relief. At the same time, we're gonna enter a crisis when the moratorium ends. And I think that one of the things that we think is really important for folks to consider is to have mandatory representation, public representation for tenants in eviction court. I'm not sure if anyone here has been to eviction court. It is incredibly imbalanced, and all the power leans towards landlords, and tenants have no legal help, legal assistance. It's very far and few between, and it's very, very important that this county stands up for tenants and to provide representation for tenants, and to create equity within eviction court by doing so. Yeah, I believe that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
Our next speaker is Rich G. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Rich. I'm a housing advocate at Silicon Valley Debug, and I'm also calling in support of Office of Supportive Housing's report for rent relief. It's imperative that the rent relief proactively attack this momentous issue, so I wanted to thank them for all their work on this. And as an active advocate, we have been actively helping tenants navigate situations with their landlords throughout the pandemic. And unfortunately, because of these interactions, we see there's possible gaps with the optionality of rent relief on behalf of the landlords. So in anticipating mass evictions, regardless of rent relief at the end of the moratorium, we want to urge the county to expand investments in legal services, because from our eviction core observations, we find that for true equity to exist in those courts, legal representations for tenants is key. So thanks again for all your time, and yeah.
Thank you, Rich.
Our next speaker is Scott Largent. I'm unmuting you. Please accept the unmute and you will have 2 minutes to speak. The timer will start when you begin speaking.
Good morning, everyone. Scott Largent. I have personally dealt with the civil courthouse in San Jose that, of course, deals with civil matters and the eviction process.
Someone to dive into this right now and give me.
Supervisor Smitty.
Uh-oh.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Scott.
Muted fast. Okay. I think you had a hot mic there, Joe. So at least you didn't say anything bad about me. So what I'm trying to get at is, I know you guys were talking about providing attorneys, self-help, all those other good things. So that was non-existent prior to the pandemic. And there's a couple of judges down there. And I don't always hate all of these judges, but Judge Carol Overton is just a hater towards anybody that's homeless, poor, and she always sides with a wealthy property owner. And I've dealt with that in court where she did tentative rulings, you know, and when you don't understand this stuff, you show up to court and they've already ruled against you. It's very shocking to go through. If you're poor and you don't have a quality data plan in a way, you're hosed. There's no Wi-Fi there. The self-help is across the street. The lines are really long, and it's an intimidating environment. And this is also the same environment that the city bullies people in. And the county also does the same thing, because in the civil channel, you don't get representation, and that just makes it very, very difficult. I hope we are putting enough things in place to, in a way, it's been a rough year. We need to hold people's hands in a way throughout this process. And I hope we do that. We can make an arrangement between property owners and tenants and try to figure out the right path, because I just worry that so many people are going to be out on the streets, and that's just going to basically be at the hand of Carol Overton. Judge Carol Overton just does not like poor people at all. Okay, I appreciate everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
And that concludes our speakers.
Thank you. Supervisor Simidian, any comments or questions from you before we receive this report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Forgive me a brief technical challenge there. I do have some questions, and I first to Ms. Hernandez, I was going to say it's nice to see you again, but I feel like I see you 24/7. So thank you. Let me just ask, do we have something, and forgive me if it's in the materials, I don't think I saw anything that I would characterize as a flow chart for members of the public who are looking for rental assistance. I just feel like, you know, our county does an awful lot of good work in terms of handing out collateral materials, helping people understand, but I think this has all gotten so confusing that if there was something like a flow chart that sort of said, here's how you walk your way through the process, that would be helpful. Have we got anything like that, or could we create something like that if asked?
Thank you for the question, Supervisor Simidian. I agree. I feel like I see you every day in various meetings. We are working on that collateral material. One of the complications has been in clarifying the state administered portion of the program, because we as a county and the city of San Jose selected option C, which is a hybrid model. Essentially, we have a state program and a local program, and we are working on that collateral material. Hopefully it can be published on Monday. We are in negotiations with the state. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Forgive the interruption. I do think we're going to need something like that, and I think also our 5 supervisorial offices would benefit from having something like that we can share with our constituents. I know it's complicated because it's a complicated process, and I also know that you know, these things are changing on a seemingly daily basis, which makes it a little hard to feel confident that you're current. But if it's that complicated for us, I just think, you know, just trying to imagine how complicated it's going to be for someone who is a person of modest means and perhaps not used to working with bureaucracies. So I think if I could ask you to keep us informed about that, share any materials you have, let us know when there are updates to materials so that we aren't sharing information that's out of date or, heaven forbid, inaccurate. And then related to that, I guess the question I would ask is, we rely a lot, of course, on our EANs, the Emergency Assistant Network folks, to help us by navigating their clients who are our constituents. How are they being integrated into the funding that's been distributed by the Sacred Heart or others?
Thank you for the question, Supervisor. The recommendation from the administration was to pull the funding through the homelessness prevention system, and the EANs are part of that HP system. And Sacred Heart will be entering into a memorandum of understanding with each of those agencies, including the EANs. So they will basically be running the existing program that they have now with additional resources.
Yeah, Ms. Hernandez, I just want to ask, and you know, look, I don't mean to critique past performance. Everybody's doing the best they can under difficult circumstances, but I know there was some concern that, you know, others, particularly in places that weren't San Jose centered were disadvantaged in prior efforts. And I just please make sure that our partners at Sacred Heart realize it truly has to be county-wide, and it truly has to engage all, underscoring all of the emergency assistance networks. Okay, that it's that's the obligation if we're going to do these things in good faith. And I was pleased to hear about the mediation services that are mentioned. When we get the proposal in, I think you said April, if I remember correctly. Yes, it's coming to the board. Will that include a somewhat larger range of mediation and legal services, as well as the referral process to help folks navigate their way in the system? I really do have a concern that, you know, when we hit this wall, all of a sudden we're going to have a lot of folks who are trying to navigate a legal system that is complex at best, even for folks who are, you know, more familiar with it, let alone folks who are trying to manage it at the first time. Thoughts? Can we get a little more in April? Is that?
Yes, Supervisor, that is part of our attachments for the April 20th board meeting, is a workflow or a steps flow for the mediation process, and also when an unlawful detainer is filed, what are the action steps, timeline, and you know, it's slightly complicated because of SB 91 and this requirement that the landlord has to issue a 15-day notice, but I think we are very close to simplifying that. And then eventually through our partnership with Destination Home, they are going to look at it from the tenant perspective and simplify it, because I think sometimes when we look at it from a legal perspective, it can get a little complicated. And so, you know, it does go through a number of iterations, but looking at it really through the lens of a tenant or a landlord.
Thank you. I think just the last thing, Mr. Chairman, through the chair, is I would ask when we get that report, if we can have some information that helps us sort of understand who's picking up what share of the costs associated with this. You know, we're certainly not the only folks who are part of this effort to make sure that people are able to access the legal services they need. And I think understanding our role and, quite frankly, our funding obligations or commitments in the larger context of who else is paying for what will be important. Thanks.
Thank you, Supervisor. And Consuelo, I shared Supervisor's request for information. I'm hoping there's state and federal funding that comes in to reimburse this state and national moratorium that's been going on. It seems to me, that's what I understand in one of the packages working its way through, that there could be some relief of dollars going directly to landlords to reimburse, which would be wonderful, because you've got the tenants that aren't paying, the landlords that aren't receiving. It's just a tough situation right now that hopefully is coming to a very quick end. President Biden just upped his 100 million vaccines in his first 100 days to 200 million vaccines in his first 100 days. So we'll be getting healthier. I also wanted to give you a shout out, Consuelo, when you brought up the hiring of the additional attorneys to help people get through the legal system, if you will, so to ensure equality all around, and the education and the outreach. And I want to say that I do support the efforts to solve this problem. This has been concerning me ever since my background is real estate and property management. It's been concerning me ever since the moratorium was created, and then it was extended, and then it was extended, how it would ultimately end up. Because landlords not receiving monies while they're still paying taxes and mortgage and insurance is not good. And tenants being evicted and having small claims judgments against them is not good. So I'm hoping the parties can work this all out with all the assistance and creativity that you're providing. Thank you very much, Consuelo. With that, we will consider this report received. Supervisor, we will move on to item number 7, which, Consuelo, that's why you're still on my screen. All right. Oops, sorry about my answering machine. Consuelo, take it away and I'll mute it.
Thank you, Chairperson Wasserman. This is our first monthly report regarding 525 Charleston Street in Palo Alto. The site has been identified for an opportunity to develop housing on that site. The county is the owner. We have an active lease that is set to expire in a few years, and we are very close to selecting a development partner. The schedule that we have provided you in the legislative file is very high level. Once we have that development partner on board, which is currently scheduled to go to the board on April 20th for that selection, we will have a more defined schedule with actionable items. The first steps that we have taken on the staff level is trying to understand from the city of Palo Alto what the land use path is forward for housing. And we are working with them to develop some mutual understandings of the process before the developer is selected, so that we can bridge that gap once we have our development partner on board. So we will be coming to you monthly with updates. In some instances, there will be little to be reported, but once we really get moving, I think we'll have the opportunity to share with you any obstacles we see. There are some challenges with financing at the moment at the state level with CIDLAC. So we'll know more as we select our partner and get into the process for land use and financing.
Thank you. Supervisor Simidian.
Thank you. Supervisor Wasserman, you will recall perhaps that this is a project that I brought to our board some while ago. I believe it was January of 2020. We've had some delays that have been a matter of concern to me and that I've expressed previously. I won't dwell on them, but I do think it's important to recap them just so people understand why I've asked that this item come to us on a monthly basis. The initial expectation was that after bringing the referral to our board in January of 2020, this item would come back to us in, I believe it was April of 2020. Staff then asked for a 90-day extension given the sudden arrival of COVID on our doorstep, which I certainly understood and supported. That, however, got us to July of last year, and yet we weren't making the kind of progress I had hoped we would in selecting the developer, as Ms. Hernandez has just indicated we're scheduled to do. And in fact, here we are now looking at April for identification of late April for identification of a developer, literally, a year and a quarter after the initial referral. The reason this has been a source of concern to me is not simply that, we have a sense of urgency about everything we do in the affordable housing arena, but because we have a unique opportunity here. We own the site. We control the site. We also have some funding in our own county pool for projects designed to serve developmentally disabled adults. And Supervisor Wasserman, you will perhaps recall as well that one of the things about this site that was so exciting is that it is literally around the corner from one of the largest service providers for folks with developmental disabilities on Middlefield Road in Palo Alto. So we couldn't be much better positioned. And we know when we're going to get the site back. There is a date certain in the month of October 2022 when the current occupants will vacate the premises. So my goal continues to be, and now I'm sharing again with Ms. Hernandez, that the day after that property is vacated, we be there ready to start demolition. And so right now I see October the 31st. If we can cut a couple of weeks off that because the folks are vacating the property prior to that, I would like to see us do that. And then the area where I would particularly like some follow-up after Ms. Hernandez and her team have had a chance to talk with the developer that is still recommended is right now there is literally 5 months between the date that demolition begins and the date that construction begins, October 31st, 2022 to March 30th of 2023. That's 5 months I don't want to see us lose. I don't want to see us waste that time. And so, I understand. I just want to reassure Ms. Hernandez that we can't bulldoze it one day and show up the next day ready to put brick and mortar on the site. I get that. But a 5-month delay between demolition of a relatively modest site and the start of construction is a concern to me. Appreciate the fact that you've already been in touch with folks at the City of Palo Alto, as have I. I would like to see if we can make them a partner in some way, even if it's a modest financial support with developer fees from Palo Alto. And because I think it would be good for us to sort of show we're all in it together. Plus, we could use the money. Plus, if they're a partner, then there's even more incentive to move things along expeditiously and get all this going on. So I'll let it go at that. And part of the reason to put this on for a monthly report, Mr. Chairman, is to make sure there's no further slippage. But I'm going to be even more ambitious than that and say not only no further slippage, but let's see if we can't cut some of the time out of the schedule that is already there and actually improve on the date. I see Mr. Wasserman smiling. That's because I know he shares my enthusiasm for the project. So I'll say thank you for that. And if you'd like a motion to say receive the report or no motion necessary, I'm fine with that at this time, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Consuelo, you understood the direction that the supervisor gave. That said, I don't think we need a motion, but I will say I agree with what he said. I've been in projects where you needed demo permits and building permits, and they don't always coincide the way you'd like, and things getting started. It's always tougher to start a project and finish a project than it is to build the project. So I wish you good luck. I look forward to your reports. If you were on earlier, the fire district in Los Altos, they were given directions and they did everything, they got everything done. And I look forward to your working some magic, moving things along as quickly as you can. Good luck with that. And Supervisor, I think this is a very encouraging project, and I also applaud you raising the idea of making Palo Alto our partner in the form of developmental fees or in any other way. I think that's very, very smart, and it obviously will benefit Palo Alto. Thank you, sir. Consuelo, that's it, unless you have any other comments. Peggy, I don't see any speakers. So
we have no speakers.
Thank you. That was item 7. Consider it received. 8, 9, and 10 were handled on consent. April 11th, number 11 is to adjourn to tax day, April 15th, which I think has been extended for anybody who hasn't paid their taxes yet. Supervisor, that'll do it. Unless you have any other comments, I'll consider this meeting adjourned at 11:03.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all.
Thank you all very much. Great meeting. Bye-bye.